The mayor ignored Lucky Luciano. 24 hours later, half the police force requested transfers. Hey there, hey there. Hello, greetings warriors. I'm Tulio, and another episode of Kings of Crime channel is starting. If you liked it, just activate the bell so you don't miss an episode of the channel, family. And today, family, I'm going to bring you a story that seems impossible to be true, but it really happened. A story about power, respect, and consequences. I hope you enjoy this episode and are enjoying our channel, family. Don't forget to help us out here too, because this is sensitive content, right? So YouTube comes down hard on us, which ends up breaking us in monetization. But in all cases, we remain strong in the fight, right, family? Once again, I hope you enjoy the episode, and that's it. Let's get to the video. New York, 1936. The city that never sleeps was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. The new mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia, a short, stocky man but with an ego the size of the Empire State Building, had just taken office with a bold promise on his lips. He was going to clean up New York. He was going to end corruption. He was going to show the mobsters who really ran that city. And when asked about Lucky Luciano, the most powerful man in the American underworld, LaGuardia gave that arrogant smile of his and said something that would seal the fate of hundreds of police officers. Luciano, that fifth-rate Italian, is nothing but a common criminal. He has no power over my city. Those words reached Luciano's ears in less than 2 hours. And family, you need to understand something about Lucky Luciano. This wasn't just any mobster. This was the man who had transformed street gangs into corporations. The guy who had created the commission, uniting all the crime families into a business structure. Luciano didn't rule through fear like the old bosses. He ruled through something much more powerful, economics. And when he heard the mayor's words, he didn't get angry. He didn't threaten anyone. He simply smiled that crooked smile of his and said to Meyer Lansky, "The mayor thinks I have no power. Let's show him what real power is." What happened in the next 24 hours would become legendary in the corridors of the New York police. A story whispered for decades that few believed was true, but that all the veterans guaranteed had happened. Because family, Lucky Luciano didn't need weapons to prove his point. He had something much more efficient: information. For years, Luciano had cultivated relationships, not just with criminals, but with everyone who made the city work. Police officers, judges, politicians, union leaders, business owners. He knew everyone's secrets. He knew who accepted bribes, who had lovers, who had gambling debts, who protected relatives involved in crimes. And he kept this information like a banker keeps gold. That night, after the mayor's statements, phones started ringing all over New York. Discreet calls, calm voices, short messages. "Mr. Luciano heard about the mayor's statements. He thinks you better consider your options." They weren't direct threats. Luciano was too smart for that. They were reminders. Reminders that certain protections these officers had enjoyed for years could disappear. Reminders that certain secrets that were well kept could come to light. Reminders that in a city where everyone had something to hide, Luciano was the keeper of secrets. The next morning, when the sun rose over Manhattan, something extraordinary began to happen. One by one, police officers began showing up at human resources departments. They were requesting transfers. Not just a few, dozens of them, hundreds of them. They wanted to leave New York. They wanted to go to small towns, rural districts, anywhere that wasn't Mayor LaGuardia's jurisdiction. Supervisors were confused. What was happening? Why did half the police department suddenly want to flee the city? But the officers requesting transfers knew exactly what was happening. They had understood the message. Mayor LaGuardia had declared war on Lucky Luciano, but they, the police officers, were on the front lines. And in a war between a mayor who barely knew the city and a mobster who knew every corner, every business, every dirty secret, they knew who had more to lose. Because family, here's the truth no one wants to admit. Many of these officers weren't saints. They had been accepting money from Luciano for years, small amounts to look the other way, generous tips to warn about police raids, and now, with the mayor wanting war, they knew they would be sacrificed first. Some of these officers had children working in unions controlled by Luciano. Others had relatives who owed money to mob loan sharks and were being protected. There were those who frequented illegal nightclubs and didn't want their wives to know. Each one had their secret, each one had their vulnerability, and Luciano knew them all. But the most impressive thing, family, is that Luciano never needed to do anything beyond those discreet calls. He didn't expose anyone, he didn't threaten directly. He didn't need to. Because true power isn't about destroying people. True power is about making people know you can destroy them. When Mayor LaGuardia received reports about the mass transfers, he was livid. He called an emergency meeting with the police chiefs. What the hell is happening? Why do half my officers want to abandon the city? The silence in the room was embarrassing. No one wanted to tell the truth. No one wanted to admit that Lucky Luciano had more control over the police department than the mayor himself. Finally, one of the older captains stood up. "Mr. Mayor, you declared war on a man who built an empire in 20 years, a man who knows this city better than any of us." LaGuardia turned red with anger. "Are you telling me we should bow to a criminal?" The captain shook his head. "No, sir. I'm saying you underestimated your enemy. Luciano is not an ordinary mobster. He is an institution. He is everywhere. And the men requesting transfers know this. The numbers didn't lie. Within 48 hours, more than 400 police officers had requested transfers. The department's operational capacity was compromised. And worst of all was the implicit message. Even the men who should defend the law were more afraid of Luciano than respectful of the mayor. Family, you know what's most fascinating about this story? It's that Luciano had learned a fundamental lesson about power when he was still young. He had grown up on the streets of Lower East Side, a poor Italian kid who charged pennies from other children. But it was when he met Meyer Lansky, that smart Jewish kid who refused to pay, that Luciano understood something revolutionary. Power doesn't come from intimidation. Power comes from connections. It comes from knowing things. It comes from making people need you. While other old guard mobsters like Masseria and Maranzano used brutal violence, Luciano was building networks. He did business with Jews, Irish, Poles, anyone who could be useful. He didn't see ethnic barriers. He saw opportunities. And in every business he did, in every favor he granted, he was weaving an invisible web of obligations and secrets. The episode with the mayor was just a demonstration of this web in action. Like a chess master, Luciano had managed to paralyze half the department without firing a single shot. But the story doesn't end there, family. Mayor LaGuardia wasn't a man who gave up easily. After seeing his department disintegrate, he made a drastic decision. If he couldn't trust local police, he would bring help from outside. He contacted Thomas Dewey, an ambitious young prosecutor. "Dewey, I need you to destroy Lucky Luciano. Get this man off my streets." And that decision would change everything, because Thomas Dewey was different. Dewey was incorruptible, fanatical, obsessed. Dewey began investigating Luciano from an angle no one had thought of before. He didn't go after smuggling or murders. He went after something more mundane: prostitution. Luciano controlled a massive network of brothels in New York, but always kept his distance. Dewey began arresting the girls, offering deals, protection. And slowly, some began to talk. In 1936, Dewey achieved the unthinkable. He indicted Lucky Luciano for running a prostitution ring. The trial was sensational. More than 40 prostitutes testified. Luciano, the man who had made half the police request transfers, was sentenced to 30 to 50 years. He was sent to Dannemora, known as the Siberia of America. And family, here's the irony. The mayor had won, but not the way he imagined. He didn't defeat Luciano with police force. He defeated him by bringing someone from outside, someone who wasn't entangled in Luciano's web. But even from prison, Luciano still had power. During World War II, when the Navy was worried about sabotage in the ports, guess who they looked for? Lucky Luciano, because he controlled the longshoremen, and in exchange for his cooperation, he achieved something incredible. In 1946, he was released and deported to Italy. But let's go back to that crucial moment, family. Those 24 hours. What happened was a lesson about how power really works. The mayor had official power, the title, the position, legal authority. But Luciano had real power, the power that comes from relationships, from knowledge. And when they collided, we saw which was stronger. 400 officers chose to protect their interests instead of supporting their elected chief. They chose fear of what Luciano could do. And that makes us think family. How many times in history have we seen this? How many times has official power been defeated by real power? Luciano had no army, political office, or legitimacy, but he had something more valuable. He had made himself indispensable. Every officer who accepted money, every judge who looked away, all were connected to him, and cutting those connections would mean exposing their own corruptions. Luciano built a system where everyone had something to gain by cooperating and everything to lose by resisting. The truth is that when we talk about those officers, it's easy to judge them as corrupt. But reality is more complicated. Many had joined the police with honest intentions, but they lived where salaries barely paid rent. And then Luciano came offering extra money, nothing serious, just to look the other way. And you accept once, twice, and then you realize there's no going back. You're compromised, and when the mayor declares war, your only option is to flee. That's the real tragedy, family. It's not just about a mobster humiliating a mayor. It's about how corruption, once infiltrated, becomes impossible to remove. Luciano understood this. He didn't just buy individuals, he bought entire systems. And when you control the system, you don't need to worry about who challenges you. The system eliminates them for you. The legacy of those 24 hours still resonates today. Luciano demonstrated a new form of organized crime. He transformed the mafia from gangs fighting over territory into a corporation with hierarchies and councils. The commission he created functioned like a corporate board. And that's scarier than violence, family. Because when crime is woven into the city's economy, when unions, trucks, businesses depend on it, how do you fight without dismantling everything? Luciano understood that becoming essential is becoming untouchable. And for 2 decades, he was exactly that. He only fell when Dewey found that specific vulnerability, and even then it was a partial victory. He was arrested, but his organization continued. He was deported, but continued controlling from Italy. He died in 1962, but the structures survived. The officers who requested transfers that day knew. They knew that between Luciano's corrupt order and LaGuardia's chaotic reform, the first was safer. And they made the choice humans always make. They protected themselves. And Luciano, receiving reports of the transfers, must have smiled, because he had proven his point. Power isn't about titles. Power is about making people choose you, even when they should choose otherwise. And decades later, this story continues to be told. A legend that really happened, a reminder that the most dangerous power is the one that never needs to show itself. Luciano didn't threaten, didn't kill. He just reminded people of what he knew, and that was enough to paralyze the police of the largest city in America. Hello, greetings warriors. What did you think of this episode? Leave down below in the comments about this demonstration of power by Lucky Luciano. It was impressive, right, family? The guy managed to make half the police flee just with discreet calls. It shows how real power works, not with violence, but with knowledge and connections. Leave down below what you thought, family. Once again, I want to thank everyone. And that's it, family. Until next time.